Dr. Carton, Robin and I, we wanted to ask you a question, didn't we, Robin? Can machines like that ventilator only work in hospitals?
Well, it's just a machine, you know. You plug it in and it goes. Why do you ask?
Robin's going to leave the hospital.
Do you have any idea of the risks?
Yes. Yes, I do. The risk is that he might die. Robin.
I either go on living here.
And that's a clip from Breathe. It stars Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy. Andrew, Claire, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Good
All
afternoon.
right, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Yeah.
It's very good to have you here. And it's been 5 years since you were on, Andrew.
Oh goodness.
2012, that spider thing that you did.
The spider thing. I love that you said the spider thing. That makes me happy.
And Claire, you haven't been on the show before, so you're very welcome. Tell us. So we'll start with you. Tell us about Breathe, where you fit in the story, and then we'll bring Andrew into it.
Breathe is an amazing true story about Robin Cavendish, who contracted polio, and I play his wife, Diana Cavendish, and it's just about their story, really, about how they overcome lots of obstacles together in their relationship and their life, and they do amazing things. They're pioneers, really, for people with disability, and it's just an amazing story.
What year are we starting the story here, Andrew?
Specifically, I would say it was 19-2. What year is it? It's 58.
58.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that region. Yeah.
And you're a very well-to-do couple, and
We are.
you're a tea picker. Is that right?
A tea broker.
And
Yes.
a trader. Yeah, it makes
Yes.
it sound, I didn't make it sound as though
A
you
tea
were just
picker, yeah.
picking your own tea.
Yeah, no, that's a romantic image, though. So we are a rather well-to-do couple. Everything seems rather bright and breezy, and everything. What could possibly go wrong? That kind of energy around these two people. And they moved to Kenya together after getting married, and Robin rather quickly and tragically contracts polio, and he's paralyzed from the neck down. He's a very athletic man that experiences the world through his body, and then he goes through this terrible loss of his body, and they end up managing to ship him back to England and treat him and get him on a ventilator, but he's not given much time to live as far as the authorities are concerned. People who are struck with polio to that degree of severity don't survive that long usually, but he manages to be the exception to that rule through, lots of things really, through the love of his wife, the love of his friends, and also this kind of undying longing within him to live a full and rich life and to enrich the lives of others.
Yes, and Diana is quite an extraordinary woman, isn't she?
She really is, yeah. And we got to spend quite a lot of time with her in the run-up to doing the film. Yeah, she's an amazing woman. The most amazing thing about her is that she doesn't think she's amazing. What she did in her life and the love that she had for her husband and how she cared for him, to her is completely natural and not anything to be praised or lauded in any way. So I think she thinks this is all quite strange, that there's a film about their life. But Jonathan, the producer, it is Jonathan, our child in the film, and he just wanted to, I don't know whether it's to say thanks to them for an incredible childhood and an incredible life, but just to say, look, these people did something amazing with adversity, and they did something incredible.
What difference does it make to telling this story then? If you've got Diana still alive telling you about what the character was, Jonathan, her son, as the producer of this film and the production partner of Andy Serkis, which is where this whole story starts, having that kind of personal input, saying, no, it wasn't like that, or to you, Andrew, he would have smiled like this, must make a huge difference to both of you.
It's a wonderful thing in two ways. In the way that Jonathan and Diana weren't at all didactic. They were very trusting after myself and Claire were cast, which was surprising actually and a little scary, because it meant that we had to really work hard to create something truthful. But what a wonderful freedom to be given. And in the same breath, they were always there, especially Jonathan was on set every day overseeing, because it's his heart on screen, really. That's how I perceive it anyway. So to have him as a reference point, as a resource, always, I would hassle him constantly. For instance, what happened when Robin needed the toilet in a party? What happened when he was getting bored by someone talking his ear off and he couldn't get away? What was the signal that he would give Diana across the room? Were they really that connected? Did anyone else help out? As all of these questions, and he was just this fountain, of course. And in the same breath, he was very, very forgiving. He allowed us to really create it ourselves.
Most of Diana's friends clearly think she's going to walk. They
Yes.
are amazed that you stay with him.
I think there was this image of her which she didn't foster herself. She in no way played up to it, but I think that's what people do, isn't it? From the outside, people seem a certain way, and actually on the inside, there's something completely different. I think people thought she was kind of a bit of a debutante and a bit of a... She came from a very aristocratic, but not, very well off, but not well off, sort of classic English upper class family. And I think everyone was just like, she's very clever. There's nothing, she's very pretty. Why on earth would she? She's not got the gumption or the kind of strength to stay. She's just flighty. But they didn't realise that she had fallen in love with this man, and to her, that was it. From the moment they married, I don't think it was from the moment he got ill. I think it was from the moment they married. They were in it together, as far as she was concerned. And I think when Robin got ill, I think that didn't change anything for her. But I think the worry was it changed something for him, and she was very, very off balance by that. But yeah, people thought that she'd just kind of pack it all in and go somewhere else. But that was never going to be an option for her. And it's hilarious to even think that, like, knowing her. I mean, it's just not at all.
So, Andrew, you act for most of the film from the neck up, and that's it, which must have been exhausting and an extraordinary challenge.
A wonderful challenge, yeah, to attempt to inhabit that posture in the world. But of course, I only had to do it for 7 weeks. Robin and many others have that fate for their whole lives, for decades and decades, and to be that dependent on others, to accept that kind of dependence on being held and moved and fed, and the potential indignity of being taken to the toilet by another person, being washed, being all these things, to surrender to that fate takes so much. I don't know, what does it take? It takes a real high self-esteem to be able to allow yourself to be taken care of in that way. So I got to experience a little taste of it for 7 weeks while we were shooting and some of the preparation, but it was nothing but a privilege to attempt to tell the story for Robin and for others that have had this experience.
So he spends the whole of his life with a respirator, a breathing machine next to him. We see the technology change as the years move. But the title is Breathe. Does your breathing have to change? Does the way you speak have to change as his voice deteriorates through the years? How tough was that?
Yeah, that was the biggest technical challenge. And I only had a recording of Robin speaking at the end of his life, and that's the sound that I worked back from, basically. And I thought, well, that's where I end up, and so let's give him a little bit more life towards the beginning and then let it deteriorate gradually. Having an artificial rhythm placed on my rhythm, that was the big challenge, and making that second nature. So that I could just be present in the scenes and listen and be aware of what the other actor and character was doing. That was the big challenge, making that second nature. But kind of an amazing limitation to experience and to try and figure out what to do with.
And one of the issues that they both, Robin and Diana, have to face, but we see you particularly dealing with it, Claire, is the views and the attitudes of the medical establishment, who are kind of on your side, but really want to sort of compartmentalize you and put you away. How would you characterize what they're trying to do and what they're trying to say to Robin?
Well, I think it's that thing. I think they mean very well. Mm-hmm. They want everybody to be comfortable and to live as long as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. And it worked in that way. Polio was an incredibly... Just talking to my dad about it the other day, he was terrified about it. And it was such a cataclysmic thing to happen to somebody, as you see in the film. But the approach was people will live for 12 years. That's the life. That's the maximum life expectancy, and you will live in hospital for the rest of your life, whether you're in an iron lung or you're on a respirator. I think the iron lung was a terrifying thing because all you could see of the world was a mirror, and it was just the fact that nobody had ever tried. And I think what the film investigates is the idea of pushing the boundaries, and that Robin was brave enough and had admittedly the financial capability, and he was willing to risk his life. He was willing to take the chance to go, well, if I die tomorrow, then at least I would have given it a shot. And they both did that, and they both went, well, let's just try then. And that's all they did. They just tried, and then one day went by, and another day went by, and another day went by, and he was still there. And then a year went by, and he was still alive. And that's all they did. They just lived day to day and changed the lives of so many people who would have otherwise been in hospital for the rest of their lives.
I don't think this is a spoiler, Andrew, but the most terrifying scene, once we've got used to what's happened to Robin, is in Germany. When you see how the Germans are very proud of what they're doing, and they show you around, and it's very clean. And can you just explain a little bit, because I think it highlights a lot about Robin's role of a trailblazing disability rights campaigner.
Sure.
Comes out of that little section. Can you just say something about that?
As Claire said, I think those medical authoritarians are in a sincere belief that they are doing what's right for their patients. And there is a scene in Germany where there is this mass living grave in a strange way. There's these rows and stacks of iron lungs where young boys and young men and older men are all stacked up in a waiting room for death. They're alive. They're absolutely being kept alive. They're being fed. They're being monitored. But they are stuck in this white, strip-lit waiting room for death. And I think that probably was a major moment. In the film, it's a major moment for Robin and for Diana and their friends, which kind of makes it very, very clear what they have to do. And it's very simple. They just have to show Robin as a living example of what's possible. Rather than just surviving, there is a potential, and there is a risk involved, but there is a potential for people like Robin to have proper, rich lives if we just work a little harder and take a few more risks and expand our perception of what's possible.
This is Andy Serkis's debut as a director. It's a very personal story for him. You said before, Claire, that you like to work with a director who works you hard. He told us a little bit about it when he came on to talk about his last film. But just what kind of a director is he? What was the set like with Andy's director?
It was full of energy. He's got boundless energy and really, really wanted to make this film. And I really felt like that. He got every single last second out of every single day. Everybody who was working on the film, we had so little time, but everyone who was working on it was pushing themselves and going that extra mile. And it really felt like everybody who made it put a lot of themselves in it. And no one could have done more than Andy, to be honest. He worked tirelessly to make it, and he's got such a huge heart and is such a kind and caring and generous person anyway, and that just all came across in him as a director. But also he was incredibly trusting of me and Andrew, and a lot of the time would say, I've got to go over here and sort out 100 extras. Can you what are you doing? Sort your lives out. And that, we'd do that, and then, he'd tell us if we were doing it wrong.
What do we see you in next, Claire? Do we see you in The Crown Series 2? Is that...
You sure do, yeah.
Is that the next thing? Are you done on that?
I'm done, yeah.
Finished being the Queen?
I have, yeah.
And is that it? I've heard that they're going to change the entire cast for Series 3.
They are, yeah. Well, unless they just change me and everyone else stays the same, and I'd be deeply offended. No, yeah, that's it. We're all done. I mean, I have no idea how they'll do it, but they're all geniuses, so I'm sure they'll do it amazingly. And I know who's doing it next, but I can't tell anyone. But it's really good.
Who's doing it next?
I can't.
I love that. It's such a simple
Yeah.
You weren't even doing it subtly. It was like, so who is doing it?
Yeah, no.
It's Judi Dench, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
I don't. I'm.
That's it. But you're very close to actually telling me, aren't you?
I know, it's awful. I can't help it. Should never have said anything.
Can you tell us anything about Unsane?
I don't know.
Stephen
Yes,
Soderbergh,
he's admitted that we've done it. We've made it.
And it's been filmed on an iPhone?
On his iPhone. Not on his iPhone. He bought a couple of iPhones and did it, yeah. We've done it, though. It's done. It's finished.
My goodness.
So the contrast between the Netflix mega series and a film shot on an iPhone?
Yeah. It was like a cathartic baptism of fire. I loved it every second. It was amazing. 10-day shoot. Amazing.
Andrew, what do we see you next?
Well, what am I doing? You're gonna see me in. This feels such a weird question to
I know
answer.
it's going to be a light-hearted rom-com.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh.
Well, this is that. This is that. Breathe is that. I think.
Yeah, just with
It's
a lot.
very light.
And
Very funny.
It actually is funny. And
It's
you're
really
quite right.
funny. It's a
It is.
polio
I
comedy.
think people would be surprised how jovial.
Totally.
Yeah.
They made a really joyful life for themselves. It's kind of incredible. But anyway, back to me. I will be playing the
about you.
Queen in The Crown season
Well
3.
done.
It's out.
Well done.
Wait, sorry. Sorry.
It's a revelation.
It is.
Andrew and Claire, thank you very much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.